Welcome, everyone. Thank you for making time during your lunch hour today for the South Fulton Chamber's Lunch and Learn on Lead in the COVID-19 Storm, Business Social Media Advertising. My name is Michael Davis. I'm the principal for Finesse Moves, boutique communications agency that specializes in digital marketing. And again, I want to thank Diane Matthews and the Chamber for having me for what is part two of a two-part series on digital marketing during the storm. A few housekeeping notes. The presentation and the slides for today will be sent out by Kathy. Part one of this, if you just didn't know about part one, that was about digital marketing concepts and strategies, really defining the foundation and framework. That PowerPoint and video is on my website in the thought leadership section. As Kathy said, if you have any questions, enter them in the chat. And if anyone wants to connect with me after to talk more about this topic in detail, on my website, I've got a button where you can schedule some time to talk more about digital marketing and advertising. And, being a member of the South Fulton Chamber has its benefits. One of the things I've extended to them, the members of the Chamber, through Diane and Kathy, is a 15% off link for ink and toner cartridges. I think we all know we pay too much. There's an e-commerce site called usatoner.net, which already sells ink and toner that we buy at 50% less than you have at Staples, Walmart, national stores like Office Depot. Using that code, which is FFCOC15 off, you've got the ability to take 15% off lower prices. So with that, what I'm going to do is going to turn off my video so that you guys can see the screen better, and we'll start the presentation. And I guess last message before we get started, I forgot. I want to thank the sponsor, Macomber Insurance. Macomber Insurance has been around for 127 years. They have a new program for those that have gold and precious metals. They've got a great program. There's a video in this PowerPoint which talks about how people are shielding their investment dollars. It's a great investment opportunity. They're an Atlanta-based company. So at your time, when you get the slides, take a look at them or go to their website, macomberinsurance.com. A little bit about myself before we started. For those that don't know me, I've been living and working in South Fulton for about 25 years, own multiple businesses. Again, I mentioned I own Finesse Moves. We do digital marketing. Formerly executive director of Connect South Fulton, former president of the Camp Creek Business Association, and I even had a retail store 2010 through 2015 at Camp Creek Marketplace. So for today's agenda, what we really want to talk about first, we're still in the pandemic, and the pandemic still is relevant in terms of how business owners face, embrace, communicate, and get customers to come back quickly and get cash registers ringing. So we'll talk a few minutes using some information we talked about last month about how do you communicate and engage. And then we'll kind of start and build first from the three things you know to build, to put together and think about advertising digitally. I'll go through a few slides explaining social media in a good detail. What are the platforms, what are their functions, and why people are there. We'll talk about digital marketing advertising briefly, and then really go through some ideas for strategy. We'll pick out the biggest three digital marketing platforms for doing advertising and talk through them and provide some ideas for how to think about for your business what to do. And then lastly, we'll close with a case study for USA Toner and to give you some perspective on really how I went through for that business, thinking about how I would do digital marketing advertising to grow my business. So first, let's start with COVID-19. And I really want to not pause here, but take time on this slide for the people on the call and business owners to have questions with comments or put things in chat. First and foremost, though we're open for business, A lot of consumers still aren't back. A lot of consumers aren't back for reasons of one, not feeling comfortable, but also one of the bigger things is not knowing what is the experience or how do we deal with our businesses. The first bullet there about keeping them in the loop and updating your Google My Business, your Yelp listing, or your Facebook page, that is referring to communicating folks first to say, are there new procedures or protocols for how they engage? Is the customer experience different? Are your hours different? Every day I still see businesses that have forgotten this part of the business. I was there trying to pick up some takeout food and their hours had changed. So first and foremost, if the customer experience has changed, your hours of operations have changed, please update that, because people are going to call you. They're first going to look online and start from there. Second, the whole world's going through a pause. There's 14.7% unemployment. Customer pain, their priorities have changed. We need to be sensitive to that and understand how are they different. Maybe they can't drive there. Maybe they want to go online, and really think about that as we communicate and engage in market, because everyone's not in the same state they were back in February 2020. Next, we need to look at our communication, and really at this time where things are very different, we have to be mindful that our communication is authentic, relatable, and relevant. It's okay right now to be more human and more open about communication, to speak to our customers in first person, to connect with people, because it's a different time. And frankly, they expect that, to see more of that human side. So as you do your posts, or as you do your communication, or even as they come into your store, and you're dealing with customers directly or electronically, thank them, be more authentic, be more human, ask how they are. People appreciate that, and they appreciate that connection more than they did before the pandemic. And then the last part is about our social media content. We all do newsletters, we do posts, and a lot of the posts still look corporate, cold. People want to see things be more sensitive and more sincere. And I think people can tell when things are authentic now. And then people quickly comment on social media, be it Instagram or Facebook, when they see things that perhaps are not authentic or not relevant, and brands that are doing things in the community or sharing information about resources for business loans, for food, for COVID-19 testing, in addition to what we do from a marketing perspective, really engenders us where our customers like us and like our brands more. And then, I've already touched on this before. It's about, you can't over communicate enough because people are busy. How has the experience changed? How are the hours changed? Communicate that in your business, you have taken on the COVID procedures recommended by the CDC, and it's a safe place to go. But set their expectations for, if things are different, what they are. But if they're not, they're not the same. But again, inform your customer. You can't over communicate right now. And then really closing it out, if you're not doing this, what's actually interesting, text messaging is the great way to connect with people right now. The stat I read was that 95% of the text messages are read within 4 minutes of when they're sent. And all of us know they're not always replied as quickly, but people are connected more. So maybe in addition to whatever you're doing, it's a great way to engage with text messaging. If anyone on this webinar needs some recommendations for a solution, and there's some solutions now that have free sign up for the first month, to add that, if you've got your customers' phone numbers, please contact me. But I'll give you a great example. I signed up for Subway a year ago for lunch when I was working next to a Subway. And every day at 11:40, I get my Subway message like clockwork. But the thing about it is, even if I don't use it that day, what that text message does is it puts your business as top of mind. And the last bullet here deals with a technique for if you're doing your email newsletter and you may get 10 to 15% opens. What it talks about, the double open, is going back through your stats through MailChimp or Constant Contact, and then resending it to those that didn't open it the first time, to maybe get open penetration rates. So again, the takeaways for pandemic communication: be sure all your information is current online for your experiences, be authentic and relatable, and you can't over communicate enough. And then really, if you don't have it, use text messaging as a strategy to connect and bring customers back. So when we do advertising, really there's three things to know. And we're going to do a next couple slides. We'll kind of go through, getting to know the target market, because thoroughly understanding all aspects of your unique and desired customer is crucial. Second, your unique selling proposition. And then third, what is your call to action? What will motivate them to come and buy for the action? So first and foremost, one of the benefits of digital marketing is you're not doing a broad marketing blast through a billboard, right? Which is to everybody. So with digital marketing, you have so much information that you can uniquely laser focus to your ideal customer. You've got behavioral things, you've got likes, you've got what do they do, you've got their interests. So the goal on the right side of the slide is really to have enough information about your customer preferences, what they like, their hobbies, how they're online, to have really a customer avatar worksheet. So whenever you're doing any type of marketing or advertising, you can take that worksheet and then uniquely look through the lens of what they think and feel to test out if your marketing fits that and is relevant. So the next few slides, I'll kind of go through some of the target market aspects for what you really need to understand before you start digital advertising. So obviously, besides the obvious who of how old they are, their gender and age, do they rent or they buy? What schools do they go to? What are their styles? What's their occupation? Do they work part-time or full-time? And then really the personal side, what do they do? What are they passionate about? What do they do for fun, their free time, their hobbies and interests? These things are important not only for your advertising, but the old rule for social media posting is you really need to balance what you post about your business with other things that they're interested in to connect with your brand. So with the insights into hobbies and interest in what they do, you can mix that into your social media strategy. Next, where they are, relation to you. So if you're doing something national, like the case study is, there's some aspects to how you advertise. But more importantly, what are the things that appeal to them? Is it shipping? Is it discounts? Is it prize giveaways? So these are the things that in your call to action might be relevant, or these are the things in your ad that might be relevant. But the more you know that, the more you're able to uniquely drive into what your businesses are. As we go online, more than half of us connect to everything online via mobile. But more importantly, when they are online, what are they doing? Are they shopping? Are they sharing? Are they reading? We've got a slide, a few of coming up, which talks about social media motivations. But these are aspects of your target market that are worth understanding. So the next thing, which is more about your business and answering the question for customers, what makes you unique, is really defining and knowing what your unique selling proposition is. So the unique selling proposition really is considering all the things your business does well, what is unique that you provide that your competitors can't? So in the shaded area, USP, this is what we do best, because really that's what customers are looking for. And once you have that unique selling proposition, that insight is really helpful for all of your marketing and advertising. So let's take a second and go through, if you don't know what your USP is, what are some steps for developing a USP? Well, we've already in the first few slides identified, what our target market customer is. But the bigger thing you're trying to figure out is for your product or service, what is your pain or problem that your product or service is solving for them? Step 3, explain how what you have solves that problem. And then from there, it's about really understanding, identifying, and listing what are the most important distinguishing criteria. You can use the top 3, and then really understanding What is the promise that your brand delivers? Because once you have this, these are the key elements that you have in your advertising, you have in your marketing, that you want to have when they first land on your website for that 10 seconds and they make that decision, um, to inform them why you're different. Third, the call to action. The call to action really is when the average we're at as an average person gets 10,000 messages a day, and we get these in different forms: direct call to actions, indirect call to actions. But all these forms of call to actions, we're trying to get the consumer to do something. Do we want them to buy? Do we want to sign up for our list? Do we have a webinar we want them to attend? Whatever it may be, but this is the piece we have to think about, but align that with their pain, their preferences, their priorities, and with some understanding of what our USP is, right? So when we talk about the call to action or CTA, the characteristics, it's got to be compelling, right? It's got to be irresistible, that Godfather offer that will make someone do something. Because as humans, unless we're pretty lazy, so unless there's a deadline, a sense of urgency, or a fear of missing out, which is the abbreviation at the bottom of the screen, FOMO, we're probably not going to do something unless we see something for 20%, or we buy one, get one free, and there's a date that says you have to do it by a certain day. So it has to be something compelling to motivate them. It's got to be clear and concise. What is the specific action? And we always relate to things as consumers if we're spoken to in first person. And the best way to create a sense of urgency is with some deadline, when the call to action and that irresistible offer will go away. And then with that, the bottom I've got leverage, fear of missing out. You can have something, if you've missed out on this, email me and connect with me and I can get you the new code or something like that. The reason why you'd have that part there for fear of missing out is, again, you're getting an email address. And with the email address, you can put them into your marketing system. So let's switch over to social media. I love this graphic because it shows where we were 20 years ago in the non-digital world, and it identifies the things we had on our desk before we had social media and platforms, and it shows what's been replaced to. I love that those yellow sticky notes are Twitter, and the old black book or address book is Facebook, and LinkedIn is the Rolodex, Instagram, is the pictures, Skype is a telephone, but more importantly, Pinterest are the clippings that we put on our bulletin board. But I just love that as a part of where we've come from. And I love this slide even more about social media, because there's dozens, 70, 100 different social media platforms, but oftentimes we lose sight of two things: what those platforms uniquely do want us to do, but also we lose sight of the fact that in the word social media, the two letters me are what it's all about, right? So on Facebook, it's like me. On Twitter, it's listen to me. On LinkedIn, it's hire me. On YouTube, it's watch me. Or, on Pinterest, it's show me. But I thought this was a great way sometimes to look at, here are the unique functions of social media and what they are. And since it's lunchtime, I thought the best way to really make it really simple and plain about what the functions are, let's talk about eating. And since most of us are trying to eat and live healthier than before, especially during the pandemic, I took the analogy of a salad, and then with that salad for each of the platforms there, how would we share on social media what we're doing, right? So if I'm on Twitter, I'm eating a hashtag salad. If I'm on Facebook, I like salad. If I'm on Instagram, here's a photo of my salad. If I'm on YouTube, here's me eating a salad. And I love the LinkedIn one here. My skills include eating salad. And that goes on, Pinterest, here's a salad recipe. And then on Reddit, which I'm not sure a lot of people use, I'm eating a salad, ask me anything. But anyway, I thought that was a great way to position what the platforms are. And then from there, we'll transition to really, why are people on social media? So this was a 2017 study and about motivations and why they're there. Would love to know in chat if anyone sees anything that surprises them. But I look at these really into three different buckets, right? no one's surprised that number one is staying in touch at 42%. But also, tied for second, you can see everyone gets a whole lot more news and information via social media. But the thing that's really interesting is it's used to really fill up spare time. So we're bored. And then we go to the second group, and we've got our friends are there. We can network there, and then we're finding ways to be entertained and to share photos. And then lastly, Andy Warhol said years and years ago, everyone gets 15 minutes of fame. What's different about social media, we've all got it, and we've all got our platform. So it's about people sharing their platform and what they think. And then also to meet new people. And then lastly, what you see here, which is interesting, is researching to find a product. And I'm going to call this one out specifically because when people look to research products, they go to Google and they directly, because they're in buying mode, because we often sometimes forget as we advertise on social media, the primary approach to people there are the other 9 things, not to search for it. So you have to have that in your mind when you're thinking about how do I do advertising. Let's quickly look at digital advertising. I don't like to have lots of stats on the slide, but I thought this was worth it because I think this tells a story. And to quote the notorious bank robber, Willie Loman, why do you rob banks? You rob banks because that's where the money is. So if you're a business owner, what anything these numbers should tell you is everybody's online. This is the best place to get your brand aware, to get them interested, and get them to buy your brand. So basically, as Americans, we're shopping all the time. Almost 93% of us are using search engines as our first experience. And we're even almost using Google Maps to find where they are. The last 2 on the bottom, everyone's on mobile. So when you think about what you do for social media, your websites, your newsletters, all your communication, you really got to be sure that first experience is mobile friendly. And for Constant Contact and MailChimp, they've got that mobile view. And then 9 out of 10 of us online are, once we get online, no matter the platform, are watching videos. So in closing, let's look at all the social media thing, and a couple of takeaways is nearly everybody's online. We're always shopping, and we're using Google as a way to find out about what to buy. But people, more than they were 10, 15 years ago, are learning about brands in the first time online. So for example, you'd learn about a brand, hearing or seeing about it on a social media post, and then you might go do some research. Or you might learn about a brand on Facebook with a Facebook advertising for awareness, and then start to learn more and do research. So everyone goes online now to find products. The other part as a takeaway is it's about, in the previous slide, about social proof. Social proof is the 4 stars you see on an Amazon recommendation, or a restaurant you're going to, you're looking at in reviews. We look at that as a heavyweight or indicator to move forward with the purchase. So that's part of the online experience. So one of the challenges I see with so many websites that are meant to be websites that get people to move forward with something is there are no testimonials. There are no reviews. People are looking for that when they get to your social media. Who else has been here? They'll go to their friends for recommendations, but we have to think about how do we show the social proof that, especially in areas of trust, like if you're a real estate agent or a doctor, that other people have rated this person or this product or service very high. So those are some of the takeaways, and let's go ahead and switch over and then talk about strategy. So we've gone through the 3 things that are important, right? We know our target market, we know what they like, we know there are a lot of the things about our audience. We know about the platforms, how they're used, why people are there. So then we have to really dig down and really understand so we can figure out where to go with targeting our ads, which platforms are where our businesses are the most, our customers are the most, and then really go through and look at and prioritize where they are, how do we get to them, so we can do ad targeting. So again, there is no silver bullet for advertising. And we'll talk about Facebook, we'll talk about Google, we'll talk about YouTube as advertising platforms. But the best social media strategies have many different weapons, if you will, for how we engage, how we deal with customers, both online and offline. So there is no silver bullet for all businesses, because all businesses are unique. We'll talk about it a little bit. But I want to say that as a caveat, because I often get asked that question, where should I be advertising? And my short answer is, it depends. You should be here and here, but I want to know more about your business, who your target audience is, and then what your goal is. Because some of the, again, social media platforms, they're not there to look for you. So first thing you're trying to do is build awareness and pull them down through marketing and selling techniques to buy. Whereas on a Google search, they're probably Googling to find out, where do I buy this or something. That's a different kind of customer communication. And then the last piece on the bottom of the slide is, what are your key search words that people would use to find you? And you can use Google to find that, but you can also use a tool called Quora, Quora, to learn about what questions are people asking about things, So then you can, in your marketing, use the words, use the language that they're thinking about to find your product or service. So let's kind of talk about the digital ad channels. There's a lot. So I thought I would start with the top three. And the top three in order: Facebook, Google, YouTube. And really, when you say Google, we're talking about Google Ads and also Google Analytics. But let's get started. We all know what Facebook is. Facebook is basically a social network that's used roughly by 1/3 of the people on the planet. I mean, I think these numbers here about active monthly users and daily active users are still mind-boggling to me, because we're talking about billions of people getting on this platform, to share information, to find entertainment, to get news, et cetera, et cetera. So it makes it a great place to get to them. And Facebook, besides Facebook itself, you can do things with Instagram, because Facebook owns Instagram. You can do a lot of creative things with Messenger to get people, because Messenger, think of that as a messaging platform like texting, and you can get to people responsively via Messenger. Also with chatbots for advertising. Facebook advertising gives you the example to target, well, my users will be mobile versus desktop. And what I like about Facebook advertising in the ads, there's numerous ways, and it's great tutorials, but you can do different types of ads, different varieties, with really pre-programmed ways to punch in the needs and actions you make. All the Facebook stuff will drag you back to Facebook versus other platforms. You go to your website, but it's a great platform for engaging people about awareness and then pulling them down the digital sales funnel. I put this caveat here because their initial intent is not to purchase. So you're not going to get, unless it's something amazing, people buying initially. But the great thing is with Facebook is you have a wealth of targeting options. And on the next slide, which we'll get to in a second, I'm going to kind of go through all of them with you. But again, Facebook advertising is more about awareness. You can get conversions and buy, but generally you want to take them there, and through a combination of connecting with them and engaging them, pull them through the sales marketing process to buy. This is a pretty cool slide, and I made it just for this because I really thought about how many targeting options are there on Facebook. So what I've got listed here at a high level are the 18 different targeting options, and where there were lots of different subcategories, I have those in parentheses and numbers. But you can see here, you got every single piece of information about a user imaginable, where you can go into languages and education and financial, parents, moms, people's politics, from left to right, relationship status, all the work stuff, the different generations. So you can target Gen Z and millennials. There's 11 different life events. But what I find really, really cool, really are two things. First, you've got over 70 different levels of interest that you can target on if those are characteristics back to that customer avatar we did at the beginning of the presentation for what their likes, what they're passionate about. And there's also 46 different behaviors you can toggle in to uniquely connect to your user. And then you've got different types of connections for remarketing. And remarketing to me is the coolest thing, right? So you've got someone that showed some interest, they liked something, they even got to a checkout, but didn't actually buy something. With remarketing, I love this. You can go back and with a Facebook pixel, which is another topic another time, you can track that user, and then you can go back and send them new marketing ads. And I think all of us have probably got these, right? You didn't buy something, but you went to another platform and you got an offer for 10% or an email for 10% for something in that basket. So remarketing is a great thing you can do to close that person that just didn't make it through. But again, there's a wealth, as you can see, of targeting options unlike any platform. And this on this slide really underscores what is so powerful about Facebook advertising. So no matter your audience, no matter what their preferences are, you can uniquely go after them and then create audience types and do a whole variety of different targeting based on different products or services that your one brand has. And I don't know, Kathy, if any comments or questions about this, but I think this part is just amazing what's available in Facebook for targeting.
Nothing right now, Michael.
Okay, well, great. So we'll move on to Google AdWords. Again, Google is the world's largest search platform with a 75% market share. There's 5 billion searches every day globally. And, it's funny, as we go back to that vintage social media slide, Google really is your online billboard, right? So if we're driving down 285 in Atlanta and we're passing past exit 2, Camp Creek Parkway, we see the billboard, which has that one message. This is the online version of that for that vintage slide video. The only thing that's different about it is with a Google search, you have an infinite amount of places you can put banner ads and advertising, A. B, you can have multiple messages that you can target and then change them frequently. So people often wonder why Google is one of the most successful companies in the world. 90% of us don't get past page 1 from a Google search, but there's advertising on every page, and they have a limitless advertising space that they can sell us. Per Google, advertisers make $2 for every dollar spent. And again, the Google ad play here is if someone's here, they're pretty close to thinking about buying something. They're either searching to do research for it, they're trying to figure out where to buy it, or they're advertising, right? So when you do a Google ad word search, and we'll talk about that in the case study, it first asks you to define what your goals are, right? Is it a search network, a display? Is it shopping? Is it video, which goes back to YouTube? Or is it Google Ads retargeting? Again, that ties back to the retargeting and remarketing message I had. So basically, we've all seen that in Google. We've got stuff on the right side. We've got stuff on the left side. We've got things that are marked ad. But again, going back to, and you can go to Google and figure out what people are searching for your product or service. You kind of put those in as part of your ad, and I'll show you more in the case study. And then you can decide with a small budget of only a couple dollars a day how much to spend. You get results there, and the analytics package is a great way. It's a free tool to really do in-depth analysis of the visitors and the web, and how your ad is performing. Facebook is all in one package. They've got a great package inside Facebook Ads Manager, which goes through all the analytics so you can analyze it all in one in Facebook. Or Google, it's another package. But they're tightly integrated, and they've got lots of help and information on it. Lastly, we'll go to YouTube. YouTube basically is a simple video sharing website with 2 billion users, second behind only Facebook in the most used social media platform on the planet. I still look at this number of 1 billion hours of video watched a day, and I still scratch my head about how much is there. One of the good advantages of YouTube, because of the algorithms, you can reach a lot more people on YouTube with an ad than you can with Facebook. So if you're doing YouTube ads, and again, 90% of the folks that are online are watching videos someplace. You've got a great ability now in the last few years of added in mobile targeting. And you've got different kinds of ads that you can do. We've got true ads, which are the general type ads that we're all used to seeing. We watch our favorite video or sermon, if you will. The advertiser only pays if it's only more than 30 seconds. You know these ads because you either can skip them at 5 seconds or not skip them. Within true video ads, you've got video discovery or in-stream ads. And those of us that are on YouTube frequently, when we do a search, we can see the ones that have the ad tag. Or then you have the ones that are in-stream, where they're seen before the beginning of the video. The other type of ad they have are the pre-roll. And what the cool thing about these are, you can't skip these things for 15, 20 seconds, right? These can appear during or after or before the video, but they always include that call to action. And unlike the charging for an advertiser, which is if someone watches the video for more than 30 seconds, it's sold based on pay-per-click. So based on some amount of money, a couple cents per click, when someone clicks on the ad, that's how you charge for advertising. One of the really cool things about the advertising is because when you do your Google ad and you do it on YouTube, you can actually target your advertisers can target you rather based on your Google search history, which is a kind of an intelligent kind of way to do remarketing. I thought that's a great way. So if their search history, they're typing things in that might be relevant to your industry, your company, your brand or product and service, you can target that, because the goal with advertising is not the billboard, traditional offline media of a shotgun approach hitting everybody. You want to uniquely get to the people who most are likely to buy from you, because that's how you're paying for it. And then the average cost per click, that is someone clicking on your ad, is about 0.06 cents per click. To close out this section, I thought having this as a takeaway slide where I kind of do a side-by-side comparison between Facebook ads and Google AdWords based on the columns on your left might be helpful, right? Again, from a buyer's intent, Facebook's more about awareness. Not saying you can't find intent, but they're first there for socializing rather, where on the Google side, it's about the intent's about purchasing. So you want to be a lot more aggressive. You'll be more about conversion, and you're not going through educating them like you would on a Facebook ad to know and like and trust you, which are really the selling marketing parts of the digital funnel. From an audience perspective, the granularity is phenomenal on Facebook, because you can target by really anything that you want to and uniquely get to who would be most interested in your ad. Google, it's about keywords, and then really knowing, again, we'll go back to that customer avatar, looking through their lens, what would they type in to find you? What would they type in to find something related to what you sell? And then using that as your ad. Tons of exposure, and clicks are lower cost on Facebook, but you're going to get more clicks and more users are likely to convert because, again, on the Google side, they're already looking to buy. The size of the audiences are in billions. They're all big. The audience engagement, and this is survey stats. 52% of the marketers say their audience is more likely to engage in their ads on Facebook than Google. And one thing I'll also say on Facebook, your advertising is the start. As the advertiser, you need to really think about how you're going to engage them online. Will you, with their email address, start a drip marketing strategy where you're sharing information and building a connection with them? That's part of it there, right? So once you engage them, you have to keep them engaged, because on social media, that's kind of what our expectation is. Where on the Google side, less are thinking about engagement. But when those do come up and they don't convert, you want to go back in your Google Analytics and then figure out what you can do with your ad and make your ad more informative to get them to buy from your Google ad. You can do some really cool things. You can do Facebook ads in Messenger. And those of us who are Facebook users know Messenger is a cool way without a whole lot of noise. You can get to people, and like texting, they respond. And then on Google, you can do Google Shopping ads. So I wanted to list those because those are things we would not traditionally think about. And then lastly, what works best on the Facebook side, low-cost products and products that have a social component. Where on Google, it skews, more to higher price products and great retargeting. Again, these are rules of thumb. You can sell anything on either side, but these are rules of thumb where it works best. I want to stop there, Kathy, and see if there are any questions about the platforms for advertising or a lot, because I've covered a lot in the last 3 slides about ads and strategy and how to place them.
All right, so people, if you have a question, place it in the chat box or just raise your hand so we can, so Michael can answer your question, so we can call on you. Any questions? Even just put in the chat box if you can, yes, no, we're good, I'm good. What are you thinking about the information? Something. So we can get some interaction going. So yeah, there is a lot of great info. A lot. This is awesome.
Kathy, let me ask you, is there anything that's surprising or particularly a takeaway that you've gotten from today that you want to talk about for a few seconds?
Well, I'm looking at, I hear about, the Facebook ads and never really thought about Google ads. I'm just talking about this page here right while we're here, but I did take some notes down on some other things that I could cover, but yeah, so I like what you said about, it's better for purchase intent, and Facebook is more for brand awareness. I never would have looked at it that way. Suzette is asking, can I get a copy of the slides? We will be sending the presentation and the slides back out after today's Lunch and Learn. So yes, Suzette, thank you.
And also, we're recording the session, so there'll be a copy of the video as well. The other thing, if anyone has any questions later, like I said at the top, if you go to my website, finessemoves.com, at the bottom of the first page, you want to talk more about this or have some questions, I've got a little button there you can schedule on my calendar 15 minutes and we just talk. And it's free consultation time because I think that there's so much information here, and a lot of times the approach we have is because this stuff is so powerful in terms of how you use it. We'll just do it, and we'll not do it with strategy or getting some consultation. We won't have the desired results we have, and we'll say that's not for me. And that's really not the case, because unlike anything, and we'll go back to that Facebook targeting slide in our minds, you can target on any human thing possible in Facebook. It's crazy. And that's a whole class, a day class on its own on Facebook advertising. But again, this was meant to provide some awareness and some thought processes. So before you get into the advertising, those 3 things to know are extremely helpful, because then you're not taking a shotgun with buckshot. Then you know exactly what you're shooting for, and you've got a laser beam to get to who exactly is best and most interested in your product, because there's so much noise online. You want to uniquely get to those people.
Yeah, no, this is really cool. So and when I thought about, when I started talking about the brand awareness, is because most of the time, when a lot of people are afraid to get on Facebook, first of all, I was one of them. I'm like, I don't want to do that. And because it's the unknown. And then when you take a look, you see so much, and it is a lot of noise. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of products. It's a lot, everything that's going on. And then, and when you're told, girl, just get on there, create a page and go for it. No, that is such a strategy to it that I love all of this. So Ebonique is saying, great information with a wealth of details. I love the focus on strategy since it sets the tone for all marketing efforts. Do you have a preference out of Facebook or Instagram for B2B marketing efforts? Or would you still base it specifically on the target customer and their buy-in personas?
Well, I mean, the first question, I mean, I have a preference based on what the business is and Ebonique, what is your business and what is your product or service?
But you know what, Michael, too, one of the things to Ebonique's point is, some people say, well, I do better, Instagram is where you want to be because this is where you'll find all the young people, and this where people will, more people are, they purchase from this page, so I hear that a lot.
Well, but let's go back in the framework of how I set this webinar up, right? So
her business is logistics. I'm sorry, courier services.
So really the courier, so your target customer is are other businesses, more so it's B2B more than B2C.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our target is more B2B.
Yeah. So let me answer that briefly, and I'll kind of go through, Ebonique, this case study, which is a very similar target audience. So my answer for that is, and I'm not sure how old the business is, and if this were doing real consulting, I'd ask more questions, but preference here to start, because if I'm, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm doing logistics or courier services, I'm probably, when I get online, am probably looking to find a supplier to find out what it is or to buy it. And that falls into Google AdWords search more than anything else. Now, what I'll be very honest with you on, you're in a space with a lot of big folks who have lots of keywords. So you really want to really know your audience extremely well, so you have your search words. So I would look to do more Google AdWords first there. Now, the other thing is, I would do multiple things, right? So there's awareness, there's all kinds of things to do besides that, but my first play for advertising would be there. In the case study that I'm going to do a couple minutes on really quickly, because we're running up an hour, the primary target's B2B, and I'm doing Google AdWords, and I'm going to show you how I've done it. But I'm also doing some things via LinkedIn, because LinkedIn has a unique way of getting to business people. But Ebonique, feel free to connect with me offline. I can talk more in detail, but I wanted to provide a quick answer because I think we've got like roughly 5 minutes left.
Yes.
But let me just jump to a couple slides in the case study. USA Toner is an e-commerce site that sells remanufactured compatible cartridges, laser, copier, inkjet, drums, Micker cartridges for check printing, every single vendor, 2,600 SKUs. The unique selling proposition there is 35, 50, up to 85% less expensive than the OEMs. We have a lifetime guarantee on the products and 110% satisfaction guarantee. Primary markets, small business, single office, home office, consumer also. In verticals, these are industries where people print a lot, right? Medical, real estate, financial, insurance, automotive, accounting, and schools. So the target, really target decision maker would be generally an office manager or a business owner, which typically, and typically I mean more than 50% one or the other, might be female or male. Business size profile, small business, 1 to 15 employees, medium and large. So that gives you, in the same context we had before, the analysis I put together for there's a unique selling proposition, what they're looking for. The other part I'll share with you is we're looking for people who are looking to save money or be more cost effective, where cost is something important as a value proposition.
Okay.
So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So then the second piece was, these are people that are probably further down the buying cycle. They're probably on Google. So I went to Google AdWords. The campaign goal I took in Google AdWords is I want them to take action on a website. So the ad, which you can see in the upper left, I've got the visuals on the right, on the upper right, excuse me, that went with it, was to get them to click and then go to my website, right? And then the campaign, I said, what do I want the ad to show? I want that to show on Google searches where they hit my keywords, which I'm not going to bore you with right now. Google Maps, if they're looking for a place to buy it, and then on partner websites where they're searching for printing devices. And then the targeting was on basically keywords or search phrases. So, on the right side, there's an ad preview where it shows, where it's got what I thought were the key phrases there: company name, value proposition, visit the website and shop, if you will. At the very bottom, I ran this ad for a couple weeks, had almost 101,000 impressions, 172 clicks. What I don't have on here is the conversions. The conversions, which are people buying, were not what I wanted them to be. So one of the things I realized with this ad for what I'm doing is a lot of the offices, and I ran this back in March, April, were closed during the pandemic. So I decided to pause the campaign because they're not in the office printing and restart it. So I've restarted that. And then just to kind of tie it out, here's some of the visuals that appeared, right? So if you saw the ad before with the text, you would either see one of these three. You'd see the young lady who's expressing pure joy with the hat, escaping high prices, which is a very compelling picture, or the picture of the young lady with her arms up in joy, with, again, the same themes. Again, this goes back to unique selling proposition. And then what I thought was probably the most compelling was the compare and save, right? So if they had bought HP, Brother, Oki, any of those brands, here's the price in a big box store, here's the USA price, and then the savings not only in dollars, but in percents. So there's lots of ways you can do that. So that's how I did the ad for that. With the time we have left, I'm sure we can go back to Ebonique's question, but I wanted to show that case study for how I took, my own advice from the webinar and put together an ad campaign, which I'm going to probably relaunch next week. What I didn't show you in the Google piece is a lot more Google Analytics depth. And the other thing I'll tell you, which is really great, I mentioned the Facebook Pixel. There's also some other pieces of code you can add on your website. And what they do is you can add them on each page, a shopping cart, whatever. They give you information for the analytics or for Google or Facebook to what the buyer did, how long they were there, what they looked at. And then you can take that, like I said before, to redo your ad to get them over the finish line, again, to get the cash register to ring. So I'll stop there. I want to say thank you for the time. Kathy, I've got time to take more questions. I
just wanted to make a comment that Ebonique said that this is great. This is a great response, and yes, she will follow up with you.
All right. Well, again, want to say thank you guys for at the Chamber for allowing me to do the part 2 of the series. I'll have today's stuff with part 1 on my Finesse Moves website in a day or so. And I want to thank everyone. If you guys ever have any questions about digital marketing or advertising, feel free to reach out. I'm a business owner as well as a digital marketing practitioner. And I know when I first got started, one more thing I'll share actually, which is good. If you are the kind of person that's a DIY person like myself, there are lots of resources and classes and webinars that you can take to learn more as you go. Udemy, Udemy, I believe is the correct spelling, has lots of courses on any aspect of anything with digital marketing, advertising, the platforms, Facebook. They generally have specials where they run those. You can buy the class for life for like $9.99. So the other thing is there are also other platforms which have great articles to help build knowledge, which are free. So if you want to build your own knowledge, please go that route. The more you are informed a business owner, the better. Or there's other companies or individuals like myself that are always available to help, initial consultation or as a consultant to help you grow your business. But whatever you do, do more in digital marketing. And then I'll go back to the text messaging, which is not digital. If I'm a business owner right now in brick and mortar, and I've just opened a restaurant or cleaners or something like that, I'm doing text messaging right now if I've got their phone numbers and I'm getting top of mind and I'm texting them, I've got a special today, whatever. If you are a business owner and you want some ideas for that, please contact me. There's a text service that's, I think, is free for the next month or two to get out there, but texting is a great way to complement your digital marketing strategy. We're just over time, so I'll stop there, Kathy, but I'll take more questions if there are any.
Right. No, Miss Angie said that thank you so much, and she'll be reaching out to you for services as well.
Okay.
Anybody else? We don't want to leave anybody out. If you have a burning question, go ahead on and ask us. Okay. Right. So you did good. It's 101 and all is well. And so if you guys don't have anything else. Oh, you're so welcome, Ebony. Thank you for joining us today, guys. We really, really appreciate you all showing up. And Michael, if you don't mind, do you mind sharing your screen?
Sure.
And so everyone could just.
Yeah, let me start my video back. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. So everybody can see you. And guys, we appreciate you being here. And any last words, Michael, before we hit end?
Have a prosperous day.
All right. You guys go do and be prosperous. All right. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. Bye.